It all started with a view so clear, so wide, and so perfectly untouched. It made every morning feel like a prayer. I bought that old lake cabin after retiring from 2 decades as a structural engineer. I didn't need much, just a place where the world didn't try to interrupt me. A quiet dock, some mist over the water, and the sound of loons calling across the lake. That was all the therapy I needed. The property was a little rough at first. Rusted gutters, sagging porch, a chimney that hadn't seen a sweep since the 80s. But the bones were solid. I put my hands into it, repaired the beams, refinished the hardwood, installed solar panels and a water filtration system. Over time, that cabin became more than a home. It became a boundary between me and the chaos of the world. But chaos, it seems, has a way of coming to your doorstep, even if that doorstep is 20 miles from the nearest town. The first sign of trouble came wrapped in an envelope, stamped and sealed, addressed to occupant. Inside was a letterhead that read, Silver Pines Lake Community Association. I'd never heard of them. Not once. My title documents never mentioned an HOA, no fees, no covenants, nothing. But the letter was as bold as it was presumptuous. Dear resident, you are in violation of Silver Pines Lake Community Association Code 17A, unauthorized residency in a non-compliant structure. You have 30 days to vacate the premises or bring the structure into code compliance per the HOA's architectural guidelines. Failure to comply will result in legal proceedings. Regards, HOA Board President, Karen B. Whitmore. I read it twice, then a third time, expecting to see some mistake. But there it was, in black and white, someone trying to tell me I didn't belong on my own land. I laughed. Not the happy kind, but the kind of laugh that comes from the gut, filled with disbelief and a creeping sense of insult. The cabin had been in private hands since 1947. The lot, nearly 3 acres, had been carved out of federal land back in the post-war surplus. I bought it clean, free of liens, codes, or committees, and now some HOA Karen with a printer and an attitude thought she could evict me? No, absolutely not. I drove into town the next morning and pulled my title records from the county clerk. There it was. Lot 12B, parcel ID the 749-2039, privately held, not part of Silver Pines development. Clear as day, still something felt off. Over the past year, I'd noticed the lake getting busier. More boats, more families, and more importantly, more rules. There were now speed limit buoys in areas that used to be wide open. The fishing pier got replaced with a gated dock labeled residents only. Even the gravel road leading to my cabin had a new no trespassing, HOA members only sign. It made me wonder, just how far had this HOA spread? A few days later, I was on my porch drinking coffee when I saw her, a tall woman in heels, walking down my dirt path like she owned it. She wore a white blouse tucked into slacks, a clipboard in hand, and sunglasses that screamed, "Manager at a power tripping company." "Good morning," she said without smiling. "Are you the property owner?" "I am," I said. "Can I help you?" "I'm Karen Whitmore, president of the Silver Pines Lake Community Association. I'm here to inform you that your cabin is not up to community standards and must be vacated." I stared at her. "My cabin has stood here since the 1940s. It's up to every standard that matters." She raised an eyebrow. "The HOA has specific architectural guidelines. All lakefront homes must conform to unified exterior aesthetics. Your cabin doesn't meet them," I couldn't help but smirk. "So it's not the structure, it's the paint job." She didn't flinch. "Sir, we have the authority to fine and, if necessary, remove structures that are non-compliant." I leaned against the porch post. "Funny thing, Karen. You may be the president of your little committee, but you don't own this land, and your HOA doesn't apply to me." Her lips thinned. "We'll see about that." Over the next 2 weeks, the pressure campaign began. First came the fines. printed slips taped to my mailbox with absurd claims. $500, unapproved exterior color scheme, $750, non-conforming roofline, $1,000, unauthorized use of lake dock. Then came the strangers, board members in golf carts, driving by slowly, pointing, whispering. Then came the lock, a padlock placed on the lake dock gate I'd been using for years. They were trying to cut me off, isolate me, scare me. But here's what they didn't know. I hadn't just bought the cabin. I'd bought the whole lot it sat on, including the lakefront section they now called a community dock. And when I dug into the survey maps, I found something better. The dock? The boat ramp? The tiny stretch of land labeled HOA access easement? All of it was technically still within my deeded boundaries. They'd built their boat dock on my land. Karen had picked the wrong man to push. By the time I confirmed the dock was on my property, I knew exactly how to respond, not with fists, not with shouting, but with paperwork. I drove straight to the county land records office and had my deed recertified and remapped using the latest satellite overlays. I didn't stop there. I paid for a professional boundary survey just to make it ironclad. The result? Not only did I own the cabin and 3 acres around it, but my lot extended a full 30 feet into the water, covering the very foundation of the HOA's exclusive use dock. The HOA had unknowingly built their precious access point on land they didn't control, and now they were trying to evict me from my own lake. It was like someone parking a yacht in your driveway, then threatening to tow your truck. I sent Karen a letter, short and sweet. To the Board of Silver Pines Lake HOA, your recent citations and threats of eviction are legally invalid. Your association holds no jurisdiction over parcel 749-2039, and the records clearly show the dock structure maintained by your members resides on land I own. Effective immediately, I am revoking all access privileges to my land and shoreline. Any further trespass will result in legal action. Kindly vacate the dock by the end of the month. I didn't hear back from Karen for 2 days. Then on the 3rd morning, I saw them. 4 board members standing on the dock, arms crossed, as if their presence alone would assert dominance. Karen stood front and center like General Patton. In a pantsuit. "You can't block lake access," she shouted across the water as I stood on my porch. I walked down slowly, documents in hand. "You built this dock without permits," I said. "And more importantly, on my land. I've given you a deadline. Don't mistake that for negotiation." "You're bluffing," she said. "That dock has been part of this community for years." "And that's your mistake," I replied. "You assumed longevity equaled legality." She stormed off. That night I installed 2 motion-activated trail cameras and a discreet wildlife camera pointed at the dock, just in case someone tried to accidentally damage my property. Good thing I did. On a rainy Thursday around midnight, I caught 3 men in hoodies trying to unbolt parts of the dock. I called the sheriff and showed him the footage. The men were arrested, and when questioned, one of them admitted, on record, that the HOA had instructed them to remove whatever part of the dock they could before the old guy took legal control. That was a gift. The sheriff's department launched a formal investigation. Suddenly, the HOA wasn't just in a land dispute, they were tangled up in criminal trespass and attempted vandalism. My attorney, yes, I hired one now, sent them a cease and desist letter along with a bill for $12,000 in damages and trespass penalties. We also filed a civil suit for structural encroachment and demanded removal of the dock within 14 days. The community split down the middle. Half of them sided with Karen, convinced I was just some stubborn old man hoarding a dock. But the other half? They started digging. They discovered their dues had quietly increased over the last 2 years to pay for that same dock, built on land their HOA didn't even own. Whispers turned to anger. Angry emails turned to board resignations. People were furious they were misled. Karen tried to salvage control. She called a special meeting at the community center and invited me to attend. I didn't go, but I did send a letter. If the board wishes to lease dock rights from me, I am open to monthly terms starting at $3,500 per slip, plus back pay for unauthorized use. If not, remove the structure immediately." She read it aloud. People were shocked, not by the letter, but by the fact that I legally could charge them for what they thought they already owned. The bluff they counted on had crumbled. 2 weeks. Later, a work crew arrived at the lake and began dismantling the dock. Piece by piece, they hauled it away. Karen was nowhere to be seen. A new board president was elected within a month. To their credit, the new leadership approached me with humility. They apologized. They asked if I'd be open to a new agreement, perhaps a private access rental plan with strict limits and compensation. I said I'd consider it, but only after a full apology was made to me in writing and shared publicly in the community newsletter. They did it. Today, I sit on that same porch, same lake, same quiet. But now I own not just the view, but the shoreline, the peace, and the respect of every person who once underestimated me. The HOA tried to evict me. Instead, they found out the lake, the land, and even the dock they loved most was mine all along.